Hey, by the way, before we get started, great shout out to the mic guy over there who pronounced my name exactly right. Thank you.
Vijay. I just know you as Vijay.
No, yeah, the last name is always tricky, right? Hanumolu.
Very good. The title of the talk, or the fireside chat here, has to do with kind of organization. And we've heard a lot today about different processes, customer-centric mindsets, but I think we can all understand that kind of organizational structure also is a lever towards this, and so we want to talk a little bit about that. But we also want to hear, I think some of the best things are about examples and kind of case studies and things that you've tried. So I won't spend too much time on me. I'm Michael Hawley, Chief Design Officer at MadPal. But I'm really just the facilitator here. Vijay, this is about you, so I wonder if you could introduce yourself a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for sticking around. It's 4 o'clock, and I don't feel so bad because Brian is going to go like a couple rounds after me. So thank you. This has been a great session. Just a little bit about me. I'm Vijay Hanumolu. I run the design experience team at Unum. About a year ago, I joined them. My background really is kind of a hybrid of sorts. I have a computer science degree. I graduated with human-computer interaction degrees. And then since then, I have kept them together over the last 20 years, married them with business strategy and consulting and all that stuff. So long way of saying, I really don't know what I like. Just kidding. But I worked in various organizations, big and small, consulting, startup, as well as different areas within the organization, your product, marketing, HR, believe it or not, as well as right now, my role rolls into the Chief Digital Information and Digital Officer, so essentially part of an IT organization. So.
And just a little bit about Unum, in case people aren't familiar.
Yeah, so Unum, I didn't know about a year ago that there was a company called Unum until we started interviewing. They are a financial disability company within US and a little bit in UK, about a 170-year-old company. You name a technology, we got it. I'm not kidding. That's how bad we are, starting with mainframes. So yeah, it's based out of, they have like 4 different affiliates or brands. Unum US is out of Portland, Maine. Colonial Life is out of South Carolina. Starmount, which is our dental and vision offering, which is out of Louisiana. And then we have UK, which is our international office. My team kind of looks anything on the enterprise side. What I mean by that is looking at any login and post-login, right? We have a marketing UX team, good friends. We try to play nice in the same sandbox, if you will, but good collaboration there.
Great. And you mentioned so you're within a digital group. Maybe I want to explore that a little bit more. I mean, what I see is digital means different things to different people. We need a website, we need an app, it's a digital thing, you're a UX person, designer, can you do that? But we're talking here a lot today about kind of broader customer experience, and maybe that's where kind of taking digital and really transforming that. So can you speak to what you see?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the first week, I'll share a tidbit here. The first week I got in and people heard, okay, we have this new digital guy, or digital experience guy. The first email somebody sent, Vijay, we have these forms, the paper forms, right? We are trying to convert to web, right? You're the digital experience guy, help us out. I'm like, all right, where have I landed, right? But that goes into, and as I talk to my colleagues outside, like digital is such a broad term. Everybody has different connotations to it. The way we define digital, and I quote my CIDO, is digital is not a thing. It's a way of doing things. So what it says essentially is it's a mindset, right? How do you think of digital so that it's reinventing the way you do things? Not just, hey, I got paper forms, which has 40 questions. I'm going to translate that into a web form, which is also 40 questions. Oh, by the way, let's put it on mobile, and it's 40 questions, and it sucks. So that's the change we are talking from a digital perspective.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting you mentioned this is from you talked to your CIO, did you say? CIO about this.
Yeah.
So kind of just if you're talking about transformation, is that originating from IT?
Yeah.
Is that, we heard about labs
Right.
or innovation centers? How are you doing with it?
So we think about digital and transformation is the big word these days, right? So it's really starts for us from our global CEO, right? He speaks about this all the time, saying digital is not an IT imperative, or for that matter, it's not just one group or the other. It's an organizational thing that we have to do. And to that fact, even though we report into IT and we have the title of CIDO, a lot of times it's a 170-year-old company, it still thinks about, oh, that's IT, right? It's not. And there is this mythical, oh, business is going to do something and IT is going to implement something. I'm like, we are people. It's not like business is somebody different. So that has been a cultural shift that we are still struggling with, I'll be honest with you guys. Because traditionally in organizations, what you see is there is a business group or a product group that will drive, and then there is an engineering or an IT group that's going to deliver. That's not how you can win this, right? At least in my view, it's a combined effort. It's not just about technology. It's not just about experience. It has to go together to work. So, yeah. So to answer your question, I think it's an organizational wide imperative, but people will have to rally around.
How is that playing out? So you talk about the CEO. That's pretty nice to have the blessing there and the buy-in there. But how does that play in with a particular line of business owner or product owner? Especially when you're talking about kind of experience across different products. Very customer-centered. It's not just about a product. But I imagine Unum is organized by product or even parts of a product.
So how we are organized and it's interesting, before I got there, and we still do it, we are organized by journeys. I'm like, is that a customer journey, or what are you talking about, right? Oh, it's not customer journey. I'm like, so what is it? It's like, it's essentially saying, all right, we have this end-to-end journey, and we'll split out the functionalities. And we have groups supporting, insurance is typically, you start with quote, you go to onboard a customer, and then you do admin, and then I'm oversimplifying, and you pay claims. So that's how we are structured, like we do that, right? So what happens is you create broken experiences, disjointed experience. So since I've been there, I try to take credit, sorry, is we are saying, hey, we are gonna think from a user perspective, like who are our personas? Employer is not a persona. Let's stop saying that, right? It's education. I think there was a great talk earlier today about personas and behavior-driven personas. So there is an education going on there. And then there is an engagement model that we are trying to figure out. We haven't figured this out. The great question around, hey, we have product owners, product managers. We have a product management team. We have my team, which is digital experience. We have a corporate research team. So take simple stuff as user research. Now, who does that? Who owns that, right? How do you, and I'm used to, and there was this conversation just last week, and we had a product owner going out and doing, I'm going and doing interviews with users. But don't worry, this is not user research. We are going to do process mapping and stuff. So you don't have, I'm like, what are you talking? That's exactly, I think those things we have to break through. So what we are trying to do is take small engagements and kind of show how it is done rather than, hey, come heavy-handed and say all user research has to go through Vijay's team, right? That's not going to be a recipe for success.
So you say small initiatives. Is that in the transformational sense? Is that moving more towards build, test, learn, experimentation, MVP type of things? Because those can be a challenge as well. We often get hired at MadPow to, we just need an external voice, right? Can you kind of show us a vision of the future in the MVP style? Do you think that will resonate?
I'll get to MVP for a second. I have a beef with MVP. So what we are doing is, and I did this mistake when I started, I looked at everything. We printed out like all the disjointed experience, and I said, like, this is crap. we're going to blow this up, we're going to create a foundational framework, and everything is going to be beautiful in 2 years. That doesn't work. I quickly found out. So what we are doing is flipping this and saying, where are the business investments going right now? And where are like you need a good size chunk to take on. So we said we are going to take the plan administration chunk, which is core to our business. They are going through a complete revamp of it. So we're going to use that as a project to create a foundational design framework and then expand it out to other things. So in about 2 years, 2.5 years, when you log into any of our digital properties, you're going to get a Unum experience. You won't get a Unum onboarding, Unum admin, Unum claims experience. You're going to get a Unum experience. So there is selling to be done there, but that's how we are kind of building the core and then extending it. Mm-hmm. Can I get to the MVP?
Yeah. So to get there, is it a big bang? Is it incremental MVPs?
So let me just say again, I'm going to invoke the Chatham rule, right? Don't quote me, which is great. So the thing is, MVP is so misunderstood in my view, especially in large organizations. They think of it as, oh, I have this huge project. I'm going to break it down and call it MVP 1, MVP 2, and MVP 3. Guess what? After MVP 1 is built, you're not throwing that away if it is not working. You're going to continue to add to the crap that you have built. Sorry. And design gets caught in that, right? We just went through a project. We brought a technology, right? Great, it's going to replace everything, like 25 different legacy systems. This is the future. Oh, let's do MVP. We did 8 months of MVP. We went live. And all along they said, oh, don't worry about UX or design. This is just a facade in the front. We just had testing technology. Guess what's happening now? They're like, oh, we have a UX. Let's test it. Why not we improve it rather than going back to the drawing board? I'm like, guys, this is not how you do. So there are real challenges with MVP. So whenever somebody says MVP, I just laugh. But the real thing is, right, to think about, we can even do when somebody says MVP, the thing to think about is you can do MVP without writing a piece of code. You can do prototyping. You can go test it. It's such a low cost, low investment that you don't have to test out technology and build and code everything. So that's how I would encourage others to think about.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to turn towards maybe some questions online, Michael.
Sure thing. This is a threefer. How is design managed across the 4 branches? Are they each responsible independently, or do they work together? And finally, are teams able to share work, et cetera, across the branches?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have 4 different brands, honestly speaking, so they go to market separately. So we have, believe it or not, 4 different design systems, or at least we are going down that path right now. I always feel like I'm managing 4 different companies. Given the centralized nature of my team, we share a lot. So I'll give you an example. We were just doing billing redesign for one of the properties. And guess what? The billing has been done already in Colonial Life. So we said, hey, what do we learn? Not necessarily you can't copy the design as it is, but what are the lessons learned? Is there a flow? Is there an interaction model that you can replicate? So that saved us about 40% of design time. So that's where it helps. The other tidbit I would like to share is even though we are a centralized team, it's not set up as consulting, right? If you have work, you come to us. We have UX leads or interaction design leads who are embedded with your product teams because the continuity of knowledge is so critical for design and the relationship. So that's how we are set up. And then there are research function, there is a visual design function, web analytics function that goes across. That's more a shared resource, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Okay, and one last question. How are you changing internal stakeholders' mental models about digital?
Oh boy. No, it's a tough one, right? I think I look at it digital itself is so much change and chaos, if you will, as we go through. So it's hard. I think what we are doing, and some of other talks have referenced this, is we have a usability lab that we just opened within Portland. So that's a great way to bring our folks in, and we did some accessibility studies just to show, hey, how do we do inclusive design? What are the challenges for users who have disabilities? So that's a great way. Somebody referenced user research parties. We've started to do that because we can stream the research that's being done in the lab in other locations. And then just building the partnerships. The thing I say always to my team is, hey, there are two things, right? One is 80% of our job as designers and leaders is building relationships, right? And maintaining them, right? If it was just design, I don't know what we'll be doing with all the free time. The other thing is be gardeners, not gatekeepers, right? So sometimes we get, from a design perspective, experience perspective, so gung-ho on, I'm going to tell you how to do this, and this is the only way to do it. That's not the way, right? I think it's about gardening, nurturing the relationship, nurturing the design, and not be the gatekeepers.
Hello. We got time for one more?
How do you enhance collaboration and accountability between tech and business in different operational models? For instance, agile versus waterfall and reporting structures.
Yeah, great question. I think agile, everyone has their flavor of agile. We do too. But there are two pieces to it. We are struggling, I'll be honest with you. It's design, in my view, is very hard, especially when you're trying to rethink and redesign like enterprise-wide. You can't build, and the analogy I use is you can't design one room at a time. You can build one room at a time, but you can't design. You have to design your house or a mansion, and then you build it. So to do that, you have to get ahead of a lot of these things. So we're not there yet, but what we are trying to do is, how do we carve out time, both from our research team, but also from the product organization and other business leaders, so that we're looking 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out, and what are those challenges that we need to think about. So that's the way we are trying to do and stay ahead.
I know that gets the house builders
Yes.
hair in the back of their necks up there sometimes, but you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I hope that's helpful. I know, Vijay, you're sticking around for a little bit if you want to follow up directly. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.